When working with lists, we often find ourselves wanting to extract only a portion of a list. So maybe just the first 3 items, or maybe the middle section of the list. Now, dividing a list in such manner is referred to as slicing, and we saw the concept of slicing in the strings section. The same concept applies here with list objects. So let's once again create our shopping list, taking the same list we've seen in prior videos. But this time we will add a few more items because we have some visitors. So let's add chicken, soup, gravy, sweets, and chocolate. Now let's suppose I go shopping with my friend Ben, and my job is to buy items 6 to 10 from the list, and my friend Ben is going to buy items 1 to 5. How can we go about splitting this list? Well, we can do this using slicing syntax. And slicing syntax is very similar to selecting an individual item, but we provide 2 integers in the square bracket syntax separated by a colon. The first integer represents the index of the first item we want to go from, and this value is included in your result, and the second integer value is the value we want to go up to, i.e. it is 1 more than the last index we want to include. So if we want to include index 5, we need to put 6 as the second integer value. So let's start by grabbing Ben's shopping list, which are elements 1 to 5. So we can type shopping underscore list, which is a list object, and we can then place a set of square brackets after the variable name. Seeing as we want to grab the first element, we need to have our starting value as index 0, as we know the first element in the list is at index 0. We can then place a colon, and we can then put the index value 5. This is because we want to go up to element 5, which we know is index 4, but seeing as the second index value is not included in our slicing operation, we need to add 1 more to it, so we'll put 5. When we run this, we get the first half of the shopping list, and notice that index 5 is not included in our result. So we go up to, but not including the second value. Now I have this, I can assign this list to a new variable called Ben's underscore shopping underscore list. Now let's get my shopping list. So we can once again start with the list object, and we can open up a set of square brackets. We can then put the starting index as 5, as this is where we want to start the list from. And we can go up to index 10, which is 1 more than the last index value, which we know is 9. When we run this code, we get the right list of shopping items. I can now assign this to a variable called my underscore shopping underscore list, and we now have clear items we need to shop for, having now sliced the original list. Great. Now, as we've seen before when working with strings, we have some other syntax we can use to help in slicing operations. So we can also rewrite the 2 slicing operations above by removing the first value from Ben's shopping list slicing operation and the second value from my shopping list slicing operation. This is because when the first value is omitted from the slicing operation, the slice will begin from index 0. And if you do not put a second value after the colon, the slicing operation will go up to the end of the index range, i.e. to the end of the list. So as you can see, we get the same result when we refactor our code. Now, refactoring code, for those who have not heard of this term before, basically refers to changing the code to make it more efficient and cleaner without changing the end result. If I omit both values from the square brackets and only leave the colon, this will slice from the very start of the list and go right up to the end. We can also use negative indexing within our slicing operations. So we can put shopping underscore list and in square brackets -3, then a colon. This will take the third item from the end as our starting value and go right up to the end of the list, i.e. we grab the last 3 items. If we wanted all items apart from the last 2 items, we could put shopping underscore list, and then inside the square brackets we can start with a colon and then put -2 as the second value. This means we start from index 0 and go all the way up to, but not including, the second last value in the list. So we can mix and match different slicing syntax, and I certainly haven't covered every eventuality in our slicing operations so far. But hopefully this has given you a strong understanding as to how you can not only select individual items from a list by passing in an index value, but you can also use slicing operations in which you provide a start value and an end index value to get a subset from a list. The last thing I want to cover is an optional third value that you can pass into a slicing operation, and this value pertains to the step. So if I wanted to slice shopping_list from the start to the end, I can do this by opening square brackets and simply put a colon. So here, as I have omitted the first value, it will start from index 0, and as I have omitted the second value, it will go to the end of the list. Now I can add a second colon and put a third value which represents the step. So if I put in 2 and run the code, I will get a list back with the first item being index 0, i.e. apples, but then I get every other item in the list. If I put 3 as my step, I get every third value. So to summarize, you can slice lists to grab multiple items from a single list. To do so, you place square brackets and provide 2 values, the first representing the starting index and the second representing one more than the index you want to include. You can also provide a third value which refers to the step and will skip items. So if you have a step of 2, you will obtain every other item, and if you put 3, you will obtain every third item, and so on. Make sure you create your own lists and practice a variety of different slicing operations to ensure you're bringing back an expected result. You should be able to target a specific section of a list and bring back exactly what you want.